It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Next Reel's Saturday Matinée, our weekly show where the Next Reel team gets together to talk about news, reviews, new trailers, and the hotly debated weekly list challenge. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm pretty excited for the show today. Rob Cabasco and Kyle Olson, thank you for joining me at the round table. It's good to see your faces and your beards.
Happy to be here.
What I need to say to our listeners right now is if you love conversations about movies that were made, the classics before 1950, if you love high art, if you love the secrets of classic Soviet cinema, this is not the episode for you. We are hot on the heels of Star Wars Celebration, and this show will be Star Wars heavy. Kyle and Rob were both there for all of it, and they have pictures and experiences and enthusiasms and apparently some news. I don't know what they are going to say. They have told me nothing. In fact, they have deliberately shined me on in ways that I cannot even imagine yet. I'm very excited to hear it. I have unlocked my inner child from the cupboard beneath the stairs, and I'm ready to get excited. So before we do that, there has been a ton of new content dropped, even not Star Wars content. What are you watching?
I'd say one thing I think that both Rob and I watched, and I think we're pretty impressed with, was The Lost City.
Oh!
On Paramount Plus, I finally got to see Lost City.
This was Sandra Bullock.
And Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. I was blown away by how good that movie was.
Blown away?
I was so, yes. I went, it's part of the subscription, so you just kind of, like a Netflix movie, you just sit down all right, sure, I'm just going to watch this thing. And it was so charming and witty, and Daniel Radcliffe, man, that dude, just when you think you've got him pegged, I'm like, yeah, he's a nice guy. He comes in as this villain with the most ordinary motivation, and he's so great. He had one of my all-time favorite lines from this year. It was I just enjoyed that movie top to bottom. I think it was so great. I'm so happy that there's a mid-budget adventure rom-com. It's been so long since there's been like that. Yeah, I highly recommend anyone who's I wonder if that'd be really good. Yes.
It absolutely fills a hole. It fills a hole in the Romancing the Stone, in the those are the movies that I really like. And this movie was to me an homage to that. It was an homage.
Right. It's amazing to me that we go, oh yeah, Romancing Stone. That was 30 years ago. And they've done that's the last time you can have a movie to compare it to. Clearly.
I just have to say,
if it was successful,
Brad Pitt
be that.
In that movie.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Oh.
Yeah. Aging like
oh God,
it's crazy. No, the movie, and I agree. I didn't have a huge expectation. I think that's what maybe helped going into it. I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be like a Netflix movie. Oh no, it's way better than that. And Daniel Radcliffe, I still can't get over that. This won't give anything away. The buffet table room scene just was. Because that's where you get introduced to him, and you just go.
That is one of those insidious bits of comedy, and I feel like it's okay to just kind of out it, because it's this movie is full of these kinds of bits of comedy where it's a very serious scene, and then they open the doors and turn on the airplanes, and all the food blows off the tables, and it's hysterical to me. It's the joke that seems stupid and then gets funny and then stupid again, but comes all the way back around multiple times. And by the end, it's a riot. I think it's very, very funny. So I think this movie is full of those kinds of things. And Tatum's all over the place. Just really, really great Tatum. Right. He's a fine comic actor.
So few actors can play dumb so smart.
Totally agree.
Absolutely.
So that's it. That's the thing you watch.
The leeches scene.
There is so much content dropping, just like this last weekend. So much content dropped, and you lead with Lost City.
Yeah. I think it deserves to be discussed.
Okay. Rob.
What do you got, Rob?
So I'm fresh off a nonstop 10-day trip that in the middle of was Star Wars Celebration. I have only watched the first 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I have Stranger Things on the list. I have Strange New Worlds I gotta get caught up on. I have a whole bunch of other things I gotta watch too.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've not got up on Stranger Things. I'm up on Kenobi. I'm up on Strange New Worlds.
So Stranger Worlds, I am actually behind 1 episode, but I am caught up on Stranger Things, which I binged this weekend, and nice. I quite loved it. Do you know what? And I'll tell you why. It is everything. I think it's everything good about the prior seasons, but more of it and very fast. It moves very fast. You know, when they tell you, it's like, oh my God, all these episodes are like feature-length episodes. None of them feel like feature-length episodes. They plow through, like, just when you think this is a scene that's in danger of going on too long, before you get done with that sentence, they've already cut to something else. Like, it is it is a pummeling pace, and it actually doesn't feel rushed. It feels as energetic as the story is. And so to me, I had a great time with it. I love that they've leaned so hard into the D&D culture, and so I'm having a blast. And I think it is one of 2 things that we're talking about on this very show that is a part 1, part 2. Part 2 is going to drop all 7 episodes in late July. But if you haven't watched, I don't know. I don't need to recommend Stranger Things to Stranger Things fans. I had a blast with it. And is this officially the end? Do you know? They've announced that this is last season, or is there a season 5?
They just had a conversation where they pitched season 5 to Netflix. And Netflix was crying. So
Netflix was crying. I love how we're anthropomorphizing poor Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. So like they basically said, here's what season 5 is, and how it ends, like, and how everything ends. And they were ecstatic about it. So there is one more season.
Even the end of the first half of season 4 feels like everything is going to end. That is my feeling about it. That this isn't going to go well for everybody. Is there anything else we need to talk about on the small screen?
The only other movie thing I think to the other side of Lost City was I got to watch Death on the Nile, which I had not before.
What'd you think?
I watched Meridian Express. I think is fantastic. I think it's an absolutely amazing movie, and Death on the Nile isn't. We watched it and we're
hardcore of you,
shocked at how just, I don't know, inept that movie was. I mean, it was. I was like, this is like major. This is a major director. This is a major budget. These are major stars. Why is this so bad?
Oh dear.
I mean, it's badly formatted, badly put together, bad special effects. I mean, and I'd say for a movie called Death on the Nile, it's over an hour before there's a death.
Yeah, more death needs to happen on the Nile for sure. There's a lot of story in there, but it's been a long time since I've read the source material. I was a kid, kind of long time,
right.
And so I feel like I have no room to judge the adaptation. It is a slow moving boat ride. Yeah. It's about as slow as the steamship on the Nile.
Yeah.
There are some beautiful shots. Yeah. The story is ridiculous. And not to give anything away,
there's a death.
Who you think did it, and then you think, well, that can't be it, because then my God, what's left, right? Oh, it is. But there are. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
They spend like a good 20 minutes of it, like giving an origin story to a mustache.
That's right.
What are we doing here?
That's right. That was a nonsensical non sequitur. Like it really, like there was nothing to it.
But there is some pretty parts. I mean, there is some visually.
I love
pretty
the
scenes.
Color tone.
Yeah.
A murderous taupe.
It's like trying to find a nice thing to say. I mean, the acting was what you'd hope for from the amount of money they spent to get all those people there, and not even a whiff of cannibalism. Right. So that was nice.
Okay. So, are we going to talk just a little bit about this week's Kenobi? Is that a thing we're allowed to talk about?
Sure.
Just not completely irrespective of Star Wars Celebration. This week's Kenobi is really great. If you haven't watched it, skip forward maybe just a little bit. Do you have any strong opinions about how they are handling our principal antagonist?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I was hoping there'd be a little bit more Hayden.
This is the principal question of the principal antagonist, that we've seen Hayden in the makeup very briefly, very briefly. The voice is James Earl Jones, and that is perfect. Really fantastic. Thank goodness. I know. That was a big question going into this. Like, will James Earl Jones be back? Will they find somebody else? So
I almost hoped when Vader showed up, he would like see Obi-Wan and then go click one of those switches, and then Hayden would be like, "Listen, Obi-Wan,
right.
I have something I need to tell you."
He doesn't have the Darth filter.
Right, exactly. And he just like click, turns it on.
I think the show, but I'll tell you, it's interesting. I've talked to a family member who's seen it, and I talked to actually somebody at work today, and they don't like it. Like, I've heard a lot of people say flat out they don't like it, and I'll be blunt. I love this. I think it, as Lucas likes to say, it rhymes. There are the things that, you see in characters like Luke Skywalker from Last Jedi. You get a little bit of that in Obi-Wan, where he's closed himself off from the Force. I love the anger and the stuff that you're getting from Vader. And as far as like, I saw a couple things there. There's obviously a conflict that happens in the third episode that I did not think was going to happen until the sixth episode.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen in the sixth episode. This is a preview of it, but I love how you're seeing that furiousness that you kind of, what everyone grappled onto with Rogue One when you saw Vader unleashed. You're seeing that, but you're seeing it here so much more personal, so much more seething. There is a moment in this episode where at your first glance of what happens, you would think to yourself, "Oh, well, this is silly. Vader can just jump over this, right? There's a thing." But yet you realize no, because when you understand what's happening, he wants Obi-Wan to suffer. He wants to inflict massive suffering. He is patient in his rage. And I think it's phenomenal. Like, I really love this. And the whole thing with the first two episodes, I think they've done a great job setting up a character that you didn't expect to play such a big role in this. But then you're seeing Hayden, like, there are moments in that third episode with Vader I never thought we'd see.
Yeah.
Yes.
The castle and the things that connect and how they connect to Rogue One.
And even
it's fantastic.
And to Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes.
Like they spent a whole section, like there's a whole scene that takes place, this thing that's like directly from the game. Which
you're right.
I was like, when you go to the Inquisitor
I
base.
feel like I was a little bit bearish on just the act of Obi-Wan. Like I want to see more Star Wars stories, and I don't necessarily need to keep going back to filling holes in the original Skywalker kind of story.
Sure.
But if you're going to do it, so far this feels like the way to do it. And it's hard not to like Ewan McGregor. Like I think he's a fantastic performer, and I don't hate watching him as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I really think it's a good character for him, and so it plays for me so far. The Vader stuff, as I mean, it is the brutality with which they are handling Vader is exceptional. This is the Vader that I always imagined was the Vader from the movie that started it for me. Like, it was this guy. And so I like that quite a bit.
Which is awesome, because this is the Vader that has been portrayed in the comics.
Right.
So that if you follow that along, you're now actually seeing that. If you're a fan of the comics, this show is a goldmine, which I totally love. And also, I mean, again, I don't want to go into spoiler territory, but I think the biggest subtle mic drop moment in the third episode is finding out that there's a certain character that has a sibling.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting too.
Which there's no way that just was dropped for nothing. They're planting something, which I hope has a payoff. Maybe not in the show, but somewhere down the line.
It's produced well. It looks good. The volume stuff feels, again, really quite beautiful. Like, their performances are great. I have no problem with them. I'm excited to see kind of where this ends up going. And I love that it exists.
Totally. So we all came in sort of waiting for Vader versus Kenobi again. But for me, the best part of the episode is riding in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Like just
character stuff.
The quiet, like this is what very difficult to do in like the big budget movie is like that you can do in a television show where you have the decompression is just Ben and the girl. Yeah. I don't know if I'm spoiling or not, having this conversation and like talking about her mom. And I'm like, oh my God, like I never thought we would ever see anything like this. And like, that's, it pains me that we're halfway through.
Yes. Very much.
Like this should have been like that's the problem I'm having right now with a lot of the Star Wars show and even the Marvel shows is where they're hitting the gas and where they're hitting the brake, because I don't think they still understand we are okay with the quiet moments.
Yeah.
This is what the television can do is you can just have people have a conversation and it's fine. Like I want to see Wanda and Vision just chatting.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't get to see that because they're all fighting, shooting laser bolts and pulling gems out of heads and stuff. Like, no.
Yeah.
Show me a dinner because I've never gotten to see that before.
Well, and one of the most beautiful moments, was it Endgame? I can't, or Infinity War. I can't remember what it was, but it was when Wanda and Vision are sitting on the bed and, she's just so sad. And he says, it can't all be sadness, right? They have this little moment, the two of them talking about grief, the nature of grief and loss.
Yeah.
And it is like one of the most powerful kind of emotional moments. And those are few and far between in these things. When you have such an opportunity of 6 straight hours to tell a story, tell us more of those stories. I definitely agree with that. Shall we talk about trailers? Let's do trailers. I get to go first.
You know what? Your trailer is the one I would have picked. Like when I went in to do it, I'm like, I bet you nobody's going to be talking about this. Pete already got it.
Pete got it.
Right.
Pete got it already. So my trailer is, it comes from a writer-director who I absolutely loved when he first started contributing on The Office, the American version of The Office. He is fantastic and funny, and this is his first feature film as a writer-director. I'm talking about B.J. Novak, and the movie is Vengeance.
I have a story.
Okay.
I'm in West Texas, where this family just lost their daughter to an opiate overdose.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay, it's not someone I was close to.
But you flew to Texas for it?
Yes. It was a girl I hooked up with a few times. Her family thought that we were more serious than I did.
I've heard so much about you.
I've heard,
Abilene just didn't die, she was murdered.
What?
And the two of us are going to avenge her death.
So, as like a personal boundary, I don't avenge deaths. But here's what I can do. I'm going to record everything that you think happened to Abilene. And we'll put it on a podcast, and we'll see where it leads.
What evidence does he have that it was a murder?
Nothing. And that's the story.
What's this podcast about?
A new American reality where people invent these conspiracies.
You got deep state, pill pushers, cartels, the law.
Because the truth is too hard to accept. My Prius exploded.
Oh my God. What if you were driving a real car with gas and stuff?
The problem isn't that these people aren't smart. The problem is that they are.
How do you take your coffee?
In the mouth.
If you want people to open up to you, you gotta act like one of us.
It is a movie about a podcaster, radio host and podcaster from New York City, who goes to solve the murder of a girl that he has hooked up with and goes down south to investigate the circumstances of her death and discover what happened to her, says IMDb. It ends up being a story of culture clash, fish out of water, and it also is, it's a story, the whole setup of the story, the principal setup of the story is that there is no story to tell, and the act of being exposed to this culture clash and asking questions creates a story. That's my sense of it, and I love the whole idea. It is an idea that has been well trod over the years, but the cast I find is charismatic and funny, and B.J. Novak and Ashton Kutcher is in it, and Dove Cameron. Dove Cameron is a staple in my house because I think I think my son fell in love with her on what was that twin show she did? She played twins.
Disney Channel, right?
Yeah, it was a Disney Channel thing. So she was always on in our house.
She's always on her because of Descendants.
Oh, that's another one, of course. Yeah,
Descendants. Descendants. So that is
totally. So, but it is.
And she's a Marvel alumni too.
She's also a Schmigadoon.
That's right.
Alumni. So, she's everywhere in our house. And so it is just full of people that I think are going to be really funny to watch in this clash of ideologies, worldviews, cultures. And I was laughing. I was laughing at the trailer. What'd you guys think?
One, very funny. And I thought immediately, like you said, I mean, dear Evan Hansen, this is the same, sort of person misinterpreted or assumptions are made about what value this person or what importance this person had in another person's life. But I will tell you, I laughed tremendously at some of those one-liners that are in this. And BJ Novak needs to do more stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is
so
brilliant. Funny. Like on screen, I forget, I was an occasional Office viewer, but I've always I've been intrigued and entertained by him. This looks great.
Yeah, I had worried about it, so then watching it, I was like, haha, look at the rubes, they're going to do that thing,
right.
Whatever. But the more I'm like, oh no, they're basically it's just, first of all, just funny, but also they're taking shots sort of at both sides. So it's like, yeah, he's also way out of touch. So they sort of bouncing back and forth. Then the sort of the twist of that, maybe there really is a conspiracy. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, he took a couple of really tropey things and combine them into something new. And I cannot wait to see it all put together.
I think so too. He, I'm looking at his stuff because of his Office allegiance. He's done some work on the Mindy Project, and I'm not familiar with The Premise. Have you guys heard of The Premise?
I have not.
I have not heard of the
What's
premise
the premise
until
of The Premise?
Just now. Anthological series that uses the boldest of issues of our times as jumping off point to tell singular character-driven stories about today's world. The anthology of now. It literally is called BJ Novak Presents The Premise. TV series 2021 ongoing on FX. Not heard of it, but my goodness, the first couple of episodes got a heck of a cast. Your favorite and mine, John Bernthal, is in an episode. Ben Platt, Daniel Day Kim, Lucas Hedges, Caitlin Deaver, Eric Lang. My goodness, Boyd Holbrook.
Say check your Hulu subscription because I know they have a big thing with FX.
For sure. This looks like one of those things that might be worth actually checking out. So, BJ Novak, when can you actually watch this thing? That is a really great question. I'm so glad that you asked and gave me the time to vamp long enough to be able to tell you.
It's in theaters July 29th.
2022.
Yes. Oh, yes, this year. And this July.
Stupid correct. IMDb is the slowest site on the internet. Okay, that's my trailer. Who is next? I believe that honor goes to Rob Cabasco.
I can't believe I got second. Okay, so here's my setup. It's a swashbuckling Middle Ages adventure set to a modern soundtrack featuring players from the MCU and Star Wars universes. You will bow to no one. It's The Princess.
Once upon a time, in a magical castle, the king's daughter was locked away in a tower.
You made a promise to me that your daughter will be my wife.
I'm not a piece of property to be traded. But these guys, with the wrong princess.
I like a girl in lace.
I have to save my family. Let's get you ready.
Not exactly ladylike behavior.
I'll never stop until I'm holding. You're still beating hard.
Okay, so here's the deal. This just came out. This trailer just came out, right? So I love when I can like catch something like, when I find this. Yes, if you remember, what is it? A Knight's Tale. It's very much like that. Heath Ledger, I think, was in that. Yes, it's Middle Ages, castles and princesses and kings and knights with a modern soundtrack. At least that's what you're led to believe. The protagonist is a female. I believe this is played by Joey King, which I'm not familiar with, but looks fantastic. But here's what brought me to this. It looked fun. It looked energetic, and it didn't look cheap energetic. I actually thought this looked good. But two of the main characters, Olga Kurylenko, who played the Taskmaster in Black Widow, is in it, and Veronica Nyo, I believe that's how it's pronounced. She played Paige Tycho in The Last Jedi.
Rose Tycho's sister.
So Rose's sister, the one
who kicks
so
the
the one
thing
who
for the bomb to. Yeah.
Exactly, and she has the half of the necklace. The whole that's her character arc. So I thought that was cool. What did you guys think?
I feel like you're understating the gag in the trailer. Understating, if by understating I mean didn't tell us the gag. Like, yeah,
the gag is the princess. She's a total kick-ass ninja murderess. That's true. Like, like the joke of it is that you'd think, oh, she's a princess, she's a damsel in distress. No. She's more capable than anybody in the entire movie. It looks like she is sort of tutored by Veronica's character. So I mean, you kind of get that idea. But and it's over the top violence. There is a scene in this trailer where she takes somebody out down a massive, like a big core of like between a staircase, like a rotating staircase. She rides that person all the way down to the bottom and uses one of the banisters to cushion the impact. And it looks actually pretty good. Like, that sounds maybe cheesier than how I described it. But no, it's the whole idea is that, she's going to be okay.
Right. She's going to be okay. She's a complete badass. That's the joke that gets me to watch this thing because at first I was like, oh, Rob, what are you doing? What are you doing with this pick? And so I was relieved that there is such exuberant violence in the trailer. It looks really great. This is another one where the principal actress was on my television a lot in the early teens. She played Ramona Quimby in the adaptation of Ramona and Beezus kids movie. And my kids loved that movie, and they were right in the strike zone for that movie and that audience. And so that was constantly on my television. She's been in a lot of other stuff. She was in the update of Independence Day. She's in the show Fargo. I mean, her credits list. She's got 70 credits. She's been around. This Joey King. I think a lot of people might know her from The Kissing Booth. That was another popular kind of rom-com thing. So, and of course, the Conjuring movies, Conjuring and Conjuring 2. Anyway, I thought it looked again deliciously violent, and I love badass. Royalty, I guess. I think there was another movie that speaking of Stranger Things, Millie Bobby Brown was just cast in a movie that I can't place the name of, but it's a very, very similar story. Like, she's a kick-ass princess, and there's no trailer. Like, this movie absolutely beats Millie Bobby Brown's movie, but it's a kick-ass princess, maybe a dragon, and it's a direct to Netflix thing, of course.
Yeah, I had a similar reaction where I was watching it like, oh no, what's Rob doing for this now? But then the more when the action kicks off, I was sort of like, as an action nerd, I was like, ooh, this is very well put together. Yeah. Like, I could already tell it's not, tons of CG and, that kind of stuff. Like, it's just really real stunt people actually doing this stuff. And the more I watched it, I was like, there's no way this is like a first timer. So like, I went in and sort of dug around a little bit, and I found that so Lee Van Keet is the one who's directing it, had done a movie called Fury, which now has shot to the top of my list too. It's kind of like like taken, but it's sort of like a mother has her kid taken by child traffickers and then hunts them down and essentially to try and get her kids back. So it's like a thing. And I watched that trailer and I was like, oh no, this guy, they got legit skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I cannot wait to see in this sort of from that serious. I mean, like that was like a serious looking movie to this like fun thing, but still like tons of action. Yeah, I'm definitely on my list, and it's nice that it's coming right to streaming.
Yeah, Hulu, July 1st. And they got me more interested because I'm like, oh, well, that's easy. That's a July 4th weekend.
Oh yeah,
fodder for sure.
Absolutely. That leaves you, Kyle, the last position.
So I would say, well, one thing that both of your films have in common are terrible titles. I mean, they're good movies, but bad. I mean, there's a rash of really bad titled movies right now, and I get the most ridiculous title of the week.
I was just going to say, my movie could have been after the colon on yours too.
Yeah, exactly. So my movie is Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part 1.
Your days of fighting for the so-called greater good are over. This is our chance to control the truth, the concepts of right and wrong for everyone for centuries to come. You're fighting to save an ideal that doesn't exist. Never did. You need to pick a side.
So yeah, I can't believe you guys had not talked about this before, but like this, I guess it came out somewhere in sort of the weird gaps. But yeah, Tom Cruise is back, and it's the thing that amazes me about the Mission Impossible series is it keeps getting better. Like every time a Mission Impossible movie comes out, it's a little bit better than the one that was before it. I mean, it's in the way that Fast and Furious gets more and more ridiculous. Mission Impossible movies just keep getting better. I don't know what they found a magical formula. That the same thing that's keeping Tom Cruise young is also continually making these movies. Does the plot matter? Does it matter what's going on? No, I have no idea about the whole James Bondian like conspiracy of who's betraying. Nah, none of that stuff matters. Like I just want to see these cool people doing cool stuff. It's and taking it incredibly seriously as opposed to the Fast and Furious. Like long may those franchises run until one day those franchises will cross over and both end at the same time. What did you guys think of this trailer for the first half apparently of like a 6-hour Mission Impossible?
Number one, he can still run. That has been that's clearly made in this. Not enough Haley Atwell.
Agreed.
I'm so excited that she's in
and
this.
Palm.
And I hope it's a
Yeah.
Oh no! The fact that they've brought everybody back. I mean, when you see Simon Pegg show up, I mean everybody. But okay, the thing I love is it looks amazing. It looks the visuals get better and better, and I think that is. And this is not something that they are churning these out every 2 years either, right? Like this is something that they take their time with. But I gotta say this: kudos to you taking a theme that everybody knows, and this had a twist to it. Like it came in all throughout, woven throughout the whole trailer, and then it ends in a way that I was like, oh, this is fresh again, and I love that theme. I'm totally happy.
Yeah, that's Lauren Balfe on that one, and it is great. It is just great. I think, Rebecca Ferguson, Vanessa Kirby, all back doing some amazing stuff. Carrie Elwes, Henry Czerny, Isai Morales looks like speaking of badasses. He's relentless and terrifying. Ving Rhames looks great. It's just really neat to see everybody back. This feels like part one of the end of Mission Impossible to me. This feels like the final chapter. I don't know. What are they going to do? Like, of course they can keep churning them out, but man, what a great trailer to go out on. Like I really enjoy it. It doesn't give us a whole lot, this trailer, right? And I think
this is the teaser.
Reliably so. It's good. Right. That's good.
But I agree with you. You do get sort of a reckoning of something. Reckoning of
what
would it be called? Death.
Right.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Because I would assume that's what this is.
Okay.
Oh.
Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he gets cyborged and he's they get that guy who does the deep fakes on TikTok and maybe they just continue it.
Well, we have a lot of time to armchair this one because it doesn't come out for a while.
That's right. We've got to wait a year. So this because of COVID and all sorts of stuff, because, and Tom Cruise has some very strong opinions about COVID. So if you want to, Google that, that's interesting. But yeah, so May of 2023, this will be out.
Now, is part 2 done? Is it in the can or no?
I think they're cutting it too. Because I believe this was intended as one movie, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so they finally went, hey, let's do a little Hunger Games action here and just whoosh, slice down the middle. But hopefully they have had enough time because I guess it was originally going to come out. Like they were ready to release it early. Like it got moved up in the schedule, and then all of a sudden it got moved back. So I think that was part of it. Is like, hey, how about we just not cut a ton of stuff?
Yeah,
that we spend a lot of money on throwing Tom Cruise off of things. Instead, make 2 movies out of it,
or throwing himself off of them, as you see in the teaser, which looks crazy. Yeah.
When do you reckon this arc? Because this has White Widow with Vanessa Kirby, and it has Isla Faust with Rebecca Ferguson. Like, is this the end of the Rogue Nation arc? Is that kind of how it?
Probably
how it ends.
Say, yeah. I mean, like you say, if Rob's theory is true, maybe this is where the Mission Impossible becomes the Impossible Mission.
Yeah. Right. Ooh,
it was too impossible.
Wow. I just had a little hitch in my giddy up just hearing those words. Oh. Okay. Well, 2023. Country. Here we go. I'm excited about it. There we go. Shall we talk about the reason we've gathered here today?
Oh, absolutely. Wait, I had it. Did I have the lyrics? Let me see here. Oh, Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me those Star Wars. Don't let them end.
Star Wars celebration this year. You are back from your trip, and now we have the Star Wars Dead Reckoning. We've talked about. Oh, what is that? That's your pass.
That was the badge. Yeah, that was the badge.
What a terrible badge!
It was a terrible badge.
It's horrible.
Wow. Like Star Wars Celebration, you guys did a lot of stuff right, but your badge art this year was awful.
Wow. So first, just walk me through like the what? Like I know there is like a convention type setting where you're sitting in a big room. Part of it, and then there's also wandering around.
Yes. So
how does it work?
We did the full 4-day. So we got our 4-day passes. So it started on Thursday in Anaheim, California. This time it travels.
Okay.
So, unlike San Diego, like Comic-Con.
It's Comic-Con, San Diego. Right.
This moves around, and they even announced next year they're going to be in London. So like it travels from place to place. So and then so you have panels. So you have like what you see the live stream. You have like they have big panels where that's where Kathleen Kennedy comes out and John Williams comes out. Like they have those in sort of like their arena. And they have smaller panels that you won't see for like collecting tracks and for fan podcasts and that stuff. And then you have like there's actually a stage built for StarWars.com. So they actually will do live streams from there. So whenever you see like the two. Like you'll see one of the hosts and then like some of the celebrities just sitting around like in a little circle thing. That's on the event floor. So then that's where all the vendor booths are. So like basically if the camera swung around, you'd see like a bunch of like the 501st and the Imperial Legion are all there and the Mando Mercs and then all the vendor hall with everyone selling every single thing that has the Star Wars logo on it.
Okay. And you're as an attendee,
yes.
What is your expectation for participation across all of these venues? Do they give you like an agenda and say, be here at this time? Or is it really just
they,
a con?
they publish all the stuff to show you like what you do, and then you get to choose your own adventure, like basically what you want to do. And the nice thing is even without talking about it, we all of our little group were kind of on the same page what we want to do, which is we didn't want to stand at a bunch of lines, which is very much an experience at Star Wars Celebration. You can have a fully successful day and see one thing because you sat in a line for 4 or 5 hours. And if that's what you got out of it, great. But our group was like, no.
So
we want to see a bunch of things and not sit.
What are the kinds of things that draw the lines at Star Wars Celebration?
Everything.
Well,
pretty much.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It's so the thing about the trade show floor. I mean, it is massive. I mean, the main building is tremendous, and 1/5 of it is just the queue line to get on the floor of the trade show floor. So, I mean, like in the morning, and I mean, it's a sea of people, and we're not exaggerating, a sea of people, and you can avoid that. You can just wait until the doors open and wait a half hour and go in. But as Kyle was saying about like the arena, they have sort of like this connected arena. I don't know, it might hold, I don't know, maybe 6,000-7,000 people, maybe. That one for the big events, like the opening ceremony, the big Mandalorian panel, or, those things, you actually have to, days in advance, you have to put your tag number in, your badge number into a lottery to see if you will win the privilege of standing in a queue line to get into that event. And honestly, what happens is that not everyone does. And I will notice this. The one thing we should definitely talk about is, look, it's hard to manage anything that's got 40,000 people or 50,000 people at it. They are notorious for doing everything last minute. You buy your passes in advance after they sell out. They mail them out priority mail like 2 weeks before the event starts. You get your passes, you have to activate them. And then like 2 days before the event, they open up the lottery for these things. So you really got to be on it. And if you're not on it, like we didn't get into the first main, the big
thing we saw with Harrison Ford coming out, like all that. We were not in that room.
John Williams, right.
Oh, where he conducted.
And then they have other bigger rooms.
Because we entered the lottery, we did not win. So basically we were walking around the floor and seeing all the stuff while that was happening. And so just like you, we were seeing the news reports come out too, because they weren't live streaming it or anything into the hall.
That's a shame.
I think though, one of my favorite things though on the trade show floor, when we were both in Chicago too, is that Star Wars Live, which is the live stream show. They put a ton of money into that. It is a fully built out prop. And you can see this if you go to the Star Wars channel on YouTube, and you'll see some of because they have 2 big boom cameras that are getting these sweeping shots. It is a fully realized prop filled set. They even had a full digital screen behind the edges of the buildings, so that you could see clouds and TIE fighters flying. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
I mean, it's a fully produced live show for 4 days straight.
Like when you see the interviews, that's only like, 5-10 minutes or whatever, but the show is running the entire time. Like they have another guy comes out basically to hype up the crowd, to throw out free stuff. And they had like little rubber stress balls that look like thermal detonators. My daughter got one of those when they were throwing them out into the audience, throwing out t-shirts, throwing out hoodies.
So this is like when they're shuttling audiences between, like, somebody's got to get up and leave
on the floor, so
else,
you can just come and go as you please.
Wow.
Yeah, you just stand there. We had friends of ours that were there, and they love this. You guys were there, and then Jason, one of our other fellow father who was with us, he and his son got to be in the shot when Hayden and Ewan were on the Star Wars Live part. They're in the YouTube thumbnail. When you go and look up their thing, you can see the 2 of them between Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen in the shot. It is absolutely
I'm looking at them. I'm literally looking at them right now.
Yeah, he lifted up. You can see he lifted up his 10-year-old son in the background.
And you see
his little head.
That's Luke. Hey, there's Luke. Hey,
that's fantastic.
There's Luke and Jason.
It was. And this is what's amazing about Star Wars Celebration, as opposed to a bunch of the other cons, is that we had sort of done a bunch of stuff in the morning, and then we went and rested because like you get exhausted, and then we came back, just sort of wandered in around 3 o'clock, whatever in the afternoon, to see what's going on, and walked to the stage and see what's going on. And as we're standing there, they're like, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Hayden Christensen," and like they walk, and like I'm like 10 feet away, and they walk out. We're like, what? So like their interview, and I'm like behind Hayden's left shoulder the entire time. Like he was like, I have pictures, like I'm that close. I could have reached out and slapped his hand as he walked by. I mean, it's like they just brought them out and had a conversation. It was so great. And the energy on that floor when something like that happens is unbelievable. It's like the Beatles just showed. I mean, like everybody's like, ah! And then like they had their conversation. They get to the end, and the interviewer, Anthony Carboni, who's fantastic at his job, by the way, like says, "Oh, so we're about to watch." At the time, it was like it was going to launch at midnight. Essentially, he's like, "Hey, we're going to see the first episode in a couple hours. Hayden, like anything you can talk about, like what are we going to experience? Like anything you have to say?" And he goes, "This is where the fun begins," and the audience just goes, "Whoa!" I mean, like everybody, like lightsabers went off,
in the air,
and we just roared. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, he said the thing!" Yeah, it was crazy.
So, as fans, what do you feel like was the primary get for you out of this thing beyond the energy and the excitement of just being on the con floor? Were you into it for for news? Did you see anything like at drop that really excited you? Did you learn anything about the current properties that we're seeing right now?
I'll say I just talked a lot. So Rob, tell about the panel we did get into.
Oh no, we got into the Mandalorian. Yeah, the Mandalorian season 3 panel. Filoni comes out, Favreau comes out.
We were in the room for that.
They start bringing in one member of the cast, and they brought out all 3 Mandalorians because it wasn't just Pedro; it was the other 2 guys. They got, and I didn't even know the one is John Wayne's grandson.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that. No, and they got to talk, and they get the fan love, but then they keep bringing people out, and then they Tamura Morrison, who is, my God, he just controls the audience.
He comes running.
Go watch that clip.
He comes running. He comes out like they're like Tamura Morrison, Book of Boba Fett. The logo comes out. They play the music. He comes out and performs a haka right on the in front of the thing. We're like, all right, sure, of course.
And I mean, Unhinged, by the way, if you've seen those. This one was a level up from that. So it was very exciting to watch. And then, so they're talking about this and they're like, oh, well, would you guys like to see the season 3 trailer? And let you go and put your phones down because this is not going to be released yet.
They were serious about that. There were security guards patrolling around. Like if you even like looked at your Apple Watch and the screen came up, they would like walk over and go, hey.
Stop. Yeah. No, nothing. And let's just say that trailer is spectacular.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You have no idea. And I don't know. I mean, people are talking about it. I mean, like there is an epic nature to this of where this is going. He obviously is conflicted. He's basically got to make his pilgrimage because he's been, to use the term, excommunicated from the order, from his strict order about taking his mask, taking his helmet off. But everything that's going to play into this, and the one scene that I was amazed by is that they must go somewhere where there is an entire gaggle of, what is it, Baba Frick?
Yeah, Babu Frick.
Yeah,
Babu Frick showed up in the trailer
Skywalker
for it. Yeah, and with
and there's all of them, and there's a whole bunch of it. It's like all his friends that are working on stuff. So you see how they're just connecting everything, and then there is the final shot, which this doesn't give anything away. He is flying in the starfighter. He is flying through clouds, and the clouds dissipate, and you see Mandalore.
Oh,
and it's shocking. You heard the gasps in the arena, like this is happening. And so right there, you'd say, well, that's enough. I'm topped out. That's it. Like, this is unbelievable. And then he goes, well, there's also,
we're doing another show.
One more thing. There was another show we're doing. We've been shooting it for 3 weeks. I think we have the person, and Rosario Dawson walks out.
Ahsoka. Yeah. The Ahsoka. Which gorgeous Ahsoka logo, by the way. I don't know who designed that, but it's fantastic.
Beautiful. That's going to look beautiful on shirts. Oh my God. So she comes out, and I forget the order of this, but like, basically we've been shooting for 3 weeks. I mean, it's hard. I mean, do we have anything to show you? Yeah, we've got something to show you.
They actually had a trailer.
A teaser trailer that was legit.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so what did we learn?
And a lot of it is it's atmospheric shots, her taking her hood off.
Poem, they say, basically. It's just like a lot of it is just like standing and looking, because they don't have like a lot of probably the special effects, like the fights done.
Right.
So it's a lot of just like standing and walking.
Except for 3 moments. Yeah. There's one moment where they are walking towards the cockpit of the Ghost.
Yeah. And Hera Syndulla is there. Like
really?
From the back. You only see her from the back.
So we're like already like,
and the whole place
like this
goes
nuts of like, and you think that's enough? And everybody like,
yeah, you think that's it? Like we can't take anymore. Goes to the title card and then dissolves into the shot from
The
Rebels of all of them, the final, like the hieroglyphic, the art of them. And then the back of Ezra's head walks into the
Sabine.
shot. No.
That was Sabine.
I thought it was Ezra.
Sabine.
Yeah.
Sabine. So basically Sabine steps into shot, like from behind, like with her purple hair and the armor and stuff too. Like she steps in there and everybody goes, and then like as soon as they go, they're like, yeah, that was Sabine. Want to meet her? And they bring out the actress who's playing Sabine Wren.
Sabine. Okay, now look at here what's great is we both sat there and we both had different takes on what was happening.
I didn't see that because of my angle. I didn't see that it was Mandalore. I'm like, what was the big deal? And they came around.
That's right. That's right.
Like,
wow.
Well, the problem is, and here's the thing. Well, there's a great example. We both got into this arena. We were all together when we walked in, and then chaos happened.
So you didn't end up sitting together.
Parted us.
We ended up in totally two different spots in the arena.
So okay, who is playing Sabine? Was it a?
She's a new actress. You'll have to look up online. I've never heard of her before. She's pretty new, but like the amount of like as she walks out, like the fans are just like, wow, like,
wow,
you're part of the family. I mean, it was just this huge swell of I can't believe it's happening. Like,
and it feels like as you were there, it feels earned. That feels like an earned crossover between uniting these properties.
Yeah, I mean, from a cynical side, I do feel sometimes that when these shows roll out, that it's sort of like it's Dave Filoni's fan films because it's just like these are all characters you created. Now you're putting them in live action.
That's what I worry about a little bit.
When they did the Babu Frick thing, I was like, oh, that's the first time they've ever reached forward to pull something back, which I thought was a good thing to say. Like, oh yes, we're not just playing with the toys we grew up with.
It's a 2 for me, 1 for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first time they've sort of done that. And I was like, okay, that's a good sign that they're sort of looking at that stuff as well. But I mean,
the actress.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rob.
The actress is Natasha Lou Bordizzo. She's an alum from the Society. I don't know what that is, but
I think that's a CW show.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So I mean, you just really got to feel that this is going in an amazing direction. And they did say, this was something I think that came up over the course of maybe the first 2 days, that the plan is for them that the movies, and this, we didn't hear anything about movies.
Which is,
the movies will all be, nothing. And it's because the movies are all going to be post Rise of Skywalker. They are all future. Everything that deals with the past now is Disney Plus. So they've really made that delineation between this is what we're doing in terms of content, which I think is smart. I think that's a good thing.
Well, I was actually curious about that in particular because I noted that off of the news, but hadn't heard the part about future being movies, past being TV filling in holes, small screen, I should say, filling in holes.
Right.
That's fascinating. And so to that end, they didn't share anything about future Star Wars?
No, nothing. We actually noted that, like we sort of like clocked that as sort of we sort of wrapped up the weekend, like nothing. Like
Now that's not to say that there's not new stuff. There is a ton of other shows that they announced. There's a new show, Skeleton Crew, which is Jude Law is going to be in that.
Basically like Tales of in the Star Wars, like a bunch of kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like they basically want to go for an 80s kid action movie vibe.
Yeah.
And Jude Law is.
But for adults, but that one is still for adults. There is going to be another kid one that I didn't pay attention to, but the one I'm excited about because we've seen clips of it, Tales of the Jedi, which is an animated series they showed to the people who got there. We didn't, but a friend of ours did. Watch the first episode. It is richly animated. It looks almost Pixar in terms of the quality, and it will be short stories. Filoni is completely embedded in this. The first episode is all about the birth of Ahsoka
and growing up.
Basically her story. Yeah. And he did hint that some of the episodes are going to deal with some very, very dark things.
Wow.
So that's exciting.
Do you feel like going into this event, did it recharge you? Did you need recharging on Star Wars properties?
Well, did we need recharging on Star Wars? I don't know, but there's a different vibe to going to a show like this dedicated to one universe. Like I've been in San Diego. We have a Phoenix show that happened to be at the same weekend, so I didn't get to go this year. there's that you're in the nerd community, like you're surrounded by geeks.
These are your
people. There's that kind of thing. But when you're there and everyone is there celebrating one thing, there's a different level of it's sort of like you know that you're in the community. Like there's just a different vibe to it where like we're all on the same page, even though like I'm like, oh, maybe you're more interested in you grew up on the prequels, like, or you were coming up with the animated stuff, like, oh, you've read all the novels. Like it doesn't that's sort of minor. Those are just like minor ideological difference. It's like we're all here because we all found something, loved something about this particular universe.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to notice the respect that is given to everyone, because even when you're like watching a segment or something and someone will say, how many Last Jedi fans are there? It's not, you don't hear boos. There's no boos. There's maybe just
relative degrees.
There's a different level of enthusiasm, but it's always enthusiastic. And it doesn't matter whether it's prequel trilogy or sequel trilogy or original trilogy. Like, no, there's a mutual respect for what people love. And maybe, you may love this thing more than the other thing. That's okay. We're all still here because we're all in the same same book. And that's, I think, what makes the event so
one of the things
awesome.
that was because obviously right now we're dealing with a lot of negative fan things going on right now. But I can tell you, we didn't see any of that when we were there, so much so that particular actress, Moses Ingram, who was playing Reva the Inquisitor, she came out and on the Star Wars live stage, and I happened to be there, and had her first. This is her first ever Star Wars interview, and she had with the guy who played the Grand Inquisitor, and she was there, and so they were talking to her, and basically, and so like we don't know who she is, like we haven't seen Obi-Wan any episodes at this point, so like she's new to us, so we're all just it's the audience who had just seen Hayden and Ewan and going crazy, or just sort of like, okay, like we're all just sort of like, all right, we're just sort of leaning in and listening. And so when she's doing it, she sort of made what I would think of kind of a Star Wars faux pas, in that they said, oh, like, so how much research did you do? You know, watching, what did you watch? And she's like, well, none. Like, she's like, I knew some of the stuff, but I wanted to go in and I wanted to make, and I was like, ooh, for this crowd, I don't know if that's the best move, but okay, fair enough. I mean, like, you're being honest, so that's great.
You're being
honest. And then
honest,
she said,
right.
But now that I've done it all, I've gone back and see it, and now I'm a huge fan of it. And she named a bunch of stuff that she had, like, basically she'd come to it late, but now she's a Star Wars fan. And so she's like, and now I get to be a part of this thing. And there was dead quiet on the floor as there's like, you know, probably maybe 500, 1,000 fans surrounding her. And then someone from the crowd goes, welcome to the family.
Oh, that's so
and
nice.
And like, I'm like, this is the thing. This was the hardcore Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Around, like, they paid the time and money and came here and did that. And that was it. So all these toxic people around there, you're not a Star Wars fan if you're the ones who are doing this, because we were the hardest of the hardcore, and someone in that group did it, and everyone cheered.
Yeah.
There's no trolls.
There were no trolls
in that,
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I will say this will lead into another story. In the photo ops that they had, as of Thursday, you know, and a whole bunch of people had photo ops, there were only 2 people that sold out their photo ops. Mm-hmm. And the one was Ian McGregor. The other one was Kelly Marie Tran.
Oh,
come on.
Rose. Yeah, that's lovely.
Like,
so that's awesome.
Of the top 5 worst treated fans, or treated actresses by Star Wars fans, There's no reason she would have should have come to Celebration by the way that she was treated online.
No,
and yet she was.
Right.
And when came out, huge applause.
Yeah.
Everyone was so pleased that she was there. And like Rob said, lined up to pay money to meet her and to get a picture taken.
Wow. That's great.
There is there's a toxic side of it. I'm not denying that, but like, I'm telling you, like, in that place at that time with the hardest of the hardcore, the most devout, nothing but love.
It actually, the story about Moses Ingram, it surprises me that Sung Kang didn't have that. He's the one who plays the fifth brother, and it surprises me that he didn't have that particular faux pas, because he's a Fast and the Furious guy, right? Like, what's he got time to read a bunch of Star Wars stuff, comics, right?
Yeah. What's the difference between the two of them?
Right.
What could it be?
Well, that's fascinating. And then, did you spend time in the park?
We did.
Oh,
so this was your first. This was your first time in the galaxy.
Is our first trip to Batuu. Yeah.
Yes.
We walked in together, and I think we have footage of that somewhere. Here's the thing they did a great job at. They have now, Disney has the Star Wars nights. They had them early for May the 4th, but then they had this one that they moved. We had our passes. We had cool special passes. So you had to buy, it was another ticket, but the ticket allowed you into the park a little early. So I think it was like by 6. The park closed at 8. You get in there for that hour, and then the Star Wars event is from 9 to 1 a.m. Okay. And it was a lot of people, but you had the whole park. It was phenomenal. And I'll tell you the story. Like, okay, so did you go on Rise of the Resistance? Yes. We had no expectations, to be honest with you, because it breaks down a lot. Earlier in the day, we go on the app and it said, oh, the Ride of Resistance is closed. And we were heartbroken.
Of course.
We get there.
It breaks down on this day.
We get there. We get all the way to the Rise of the Resistance. There's like nobody. There's not very many people there. And I go up to the woman who was manning it and says closed. And I go, it's closed, huh? You're not going to open it up for tonight? She goes, oh no, it's open.
Open right now.
It's open. Yeah. It's open. It's open right now for you because you have the pass.
Oh,
we got in.
Closed it for regular park guests.
Yes.
But it kept
so
it open
what was
for
our wait?
People. Maybe 25
minutes?
Half an hour at the most.
Wow.
25 minutes we got on the ride. It was amazing.
AAA rides. That ride is unreal.
Really?
Like you were
good.
So
fantastic.
I mean, the fact that not only is BB-8 actually there, like he's rolling around on a platform above you, but like the first image you see, basically they do a hologram and it's Daisy Ridley. Mm-hmm. It's Rey. I mean, like it really is her. And like when you're flying through the thing, Poe Dameron is there. Like he pops up on screen and talks to you. You know, Finn helps break you out of I mean, like, and you know, and Kylo Ren like is like literally right there. I mean, it's amazing to I've never seen anything like that ride. The people, the Imagineers went a lot. That's like 4 rides in one. It's just nuts.
There's a moment, and here's the thing I think that was amazing is I've never seen so many pieces of servos and screens and lights all coordinated. There's a moment where you're in the sort of the shuttlecraft, and the shuttlecraft gets into a tractor beam, right? Not giving anything away. And you have screens in the front and behind you that are LCD, which actual animations. But as you get pulled into the docking bay, there is a row of LED lights that pass over your head in sync with what is in the front and the back of the ship to make it seem like you have just entered into the docking bay. It's unreal. They have gone to the upper limits of what is probably possible in terms of animatronics, synchronization, digital storytelling. It's absolutely fantastic. It really makes you wonder where it's going to go in the future for like the Marvel campus.
Well, I've heard that it's such a speaking of Marvel, I've heard that it's such a marvel, that ride in particular, of real-time projection mapping, like the projection mapped damage and things like that are happening all around you to really like trick your brain.
Fly past you.
Yeah. That's extraordinary. That's extraordinary. Is this a kind of thing that you just plan on doing every time there's a Star Wars celebration, or you feel like you've accomplished something?
I don't think we're going to London.
No, London's out of the picture. But if it were in Phoenix, you'd be there.
Yeah. I think wherever, if they go in the continental U.S., I don't know where they'll be again. We have some problems with the way they run Anaheim, because we did Chicago, and Chicago was smooth as silk and all that stuff, and Anaheim was not. They had some real problems with crowd management and lines and stuff too. Just
the good news is we had an amazing experience. I was talking to one of the guys who went with us, and he was reading online, and let me tell you, we had the most amazing experience actually compared to other people. There were people that spent 5, 6, and 7 hours in line for things and then didn't even get the thing. So we were very lucky. And I will say there's probably there's more, because there is one other thing that we got to do on the last day that was even probably most spectacular, which we were almost going to miss. And then we had somebody tell us you got to go to it. It's called the Mandalorian Experience. Disney brought out an entire museum quality exhibit of Mandalorian set pieces, costumes,
props,
and structures, props.
Wow.
And it was completely run by Disney. Animatronics. And this was run by Disney, because as soon as you got in the queue line for this, everyone had Disney name badges. This was not Reed Pop, the people who run or even the people who run the photo ops.
Suddenly things get better.
I don't know. No. as if it could
just
get better.
A level of professionalism. It just goes up.
You saw it as you go into the dark thing. I'll tell the first part. Kyle will tell you the main part. They had in darkness, fully lit up, the complete cockpit of the Razor Crest.
Oh dear.
With the Mandalorian inside it, you could walk right up to it, peer inside, get a photo of you on the other side. It was spectacular, and you can't believe how amazing it looks in real life. Everything is practical. It looks like it's something that has flown through the galaxy.
Wow.
Weathered and damaged.
And then if that weren't enough, you walk a little another way and you turn the corner.
You go past it. I'm like, oh, there's some costumes. Oh, that's neat. Like, oh, there's the fish mom, like that carried the eggs, like all that stuff. And like like full size character, like they have them in like on a mannequin, so like they're standing, so you can see all those things, take your picture, come around, take a left, and there's the Mandalorian's new ship. The
little one. The based on the Naboo.
The full size prop sitting in the middle of the floor.
Wow.
And in the cockpit of it is a fully animatronic child. Grogu is literally up there looking around, waving, turning side to side.
Interacting.
Grogu.
He actually had a live puppeteer
and they had the sound effects
working
too.
him.
Oh, so adorable.
You could hear him like as he's doing it. And like you could take your picture and like he'd be turning and waving and wiggling his ears and And
then surrounding this is everything. One of the pieces surrounding it, the entire set of Boba Fett's throne room,
the throne, and like all the costumes.
Yeah, Jabba's castle.
The sort of I say this is where my Star Wars fandom fails. The sort of the white droid that like ran the like in Ratos Roasters, he's the one that actually turned the thing, but like the basic white droid, they actually had that and the puppeteer who did it. So they actually had like a guy in a gray, suit, another mannequin in the gray outfit with a ball cap and a wig that would be like mounted to him.
Yeah,
that would be CGI'd out, but they actually had that on there. Like you can see.
Oh, that's
they
awesome.
Had a full size Rancor head.
Wow,
like the one that Tamora actually rode. They had that sitting there, and they had a fully animatronic, interactive Bantha, Samantha the Bantha. She would like turn her head and roar at you, and even like sometimes there was a handler there, he actually was like doing tricks with her. So we really like what I was saying, I think there was actually like a real puppeteer in there.
There were two.
Oh, okay.
I found this out later. There were two puppeteers
inside
working the
Bantha.
Inside, yeah. Yes. So lips, mouth, tongue, head. I mean, like it was fully like you could take pictures with it and stuff too, and he would go, "Speak, Samantha, speak," and you go, "Whoa," and do the full.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'll tell you this, the whole exhibit easily. Well, they also said is you really got to be careful and don't touch anything, no flash photography. Because they said, we don't know if we have to use any of some of this stuff again.
Like when
there may be some
it goes back
to set.
It goes. But the care that they did on this and the quality of the presentation, you could absolutely pack this up, put it on a traveling science center national
it's
tour.
It's worth a $30 add-on to your ticket. I mean, it's that
you
good.
Could easily buy a ticket separate for this and you would not be disappointed.
Wow. Well, with all this enthusiasm, I know, Kyle, you say you have a prop.
I do have a prop, yes.
And
so,
I for a minute there, I thought it was going to be a Bantha.
I know a prop, and nice thing is for those of you who are listening along, is it has sound as well.
Oh, fantastic!
So this won't be the end because there's one thing I want to talk about at the end, but this was my big purchase for this because this is the nice thing about the Star Wars thing is that people can be like, I love the prequels, I love the sequel trilogy, I love the animated series, all that kind of stuff. One of the and we have different enthusiasm levels for different things. So one of the things that is one of my favorite parts of Star Wars is Star Tours. So the original Star Tours was one of my favorite things of all time because it was very emotional to me at the night because it was the first time you ever got to step foot in Star Wars. Like before it was Batuu, you were on the Star Speeder. Like that was the first time that you stepped into Star. And so like that was all we had, as like once Return of the Jedi, then there were no prequels like that in that time period from 87 to, whatever, 99. All you had was Star Tours. So Star Tours was carrying the torch for a long time. So it is the 35th anniversary of Star Tours. And so in honor of that, they put out a special version of our favorite captain, Captain Rex. So this is a like a 1/6 replica essentially of him
of the speeder captain,
and it actually said it has a remove before flight tag on the things. And
welcome aboard. This is Captain Rex from the cockpit. I know this is probably your first flight, and it's Mine too. Light speed to Endor. Ladies and gentlemen, there may be some turbulence up ahead. Make sure your seatbelts are fastened. I have a very bad feeling about this. Uh-oh, wrong way. Brakes. Where are the brakes?
Yeah, and so it's really literally the voice of Paul Rubens, who was the voice of Captain Rex and the thing. So like this was like a, it's heavy too.
Yeah.
It's heavy as hell. But yeah, so it's a replica that sits on the thing. So I was it was super excited that actually, and they only made 1,000 of them. So I would imagine they probably sold most of them over the weekend.
Wow.
No, it was, and we got to write it. I think you guys wrote it that night. We did get the new one, which is based between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. And I got to tell you, I remember Star Tours. It jumbled us up a bit.
It's a pretty rough ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no eating after that.
Yeah, it's jarring.
So I'm glad I had my blue milk though before.
But that was, I mean, you guys are really, I mean, you're like that. People don't understand. Like that was Rise of the Resistance for today's kids, right? I mean, for me, like that, I remember going on Star Tours too, and that was it. That was the central and also a pinnacle of the technology at the time for many years. So it's extraordinary. All right, you wanted to talk about one more thing.
So as the last thing, I want to talk about the thing that I like. I'm going to watch Mando. I'm going to watch new Boba Fett. I'm going to watch Ahsoka, all this stuff.
Sure.
But the thing that actually really emotionally affected me the most, that shot to the top of my list, was we got to go to a panel for something called Light and Magic. And so like we didn't really know what it was. They just like they listed a bunch of names, and one of the names was Ron Howard. I was like, well, that sounds really cool. Like, Ron Howard's going to be there. Maybe he's going to talk about Solo. And so we sort of put it, and we won the lotteries to watch it streaming. So we didn't actually get to be in the room, but you got to be in another room where you could watch the live thing. And they have not put this out online anywhere. So what Light and Magic is they made a documentary about industrial light and magic, and it's done by I forgot his name. The co-writer of Star Wars, Lawrence Kasdan. Yeah, so Lawrence Kasdan is the one doing this, and so he is the one doing this documentary, and so his story is not about in 1978. It's basically, how did you come to ILM? Like, he went to each one of these guys, to Dennis Muren, to Phil Tippett, to like all these legends, and said, like, tell me what brought you there. So he's telling the story of the people who created Industrial Light and Magic, which has become the most, they redefined everything about that. So hearing the old timers essentially telling their stories about how these weird 70s long-haired weirdos going to like this little thing and saying like, I can't believe that we're being paid to make space movies.
Wow. Wow.
And then also as a sort of part of that whole Rebels thing. I mean, like they're so far outside the system. None of these guys have ever done anything in movies before. Yeah. Like they're engineers and they're artists and stuff too, doing something that no one's ever done before in a way no one's ever done it before. And they even one of the times they tell a story, and hopefully it'll be in the documentary, where they had built themselves a hot tub because they're engineers. Why not? And it's California. It's the 70s and we're hot. So they built themselves a hot tub, and they're sitting in the hot tub while they have a crane, and they're dropping a refrigerator over and over again. Boom, and they bring it back up. Boom, drop it again. And then a limo pulls up, and George Lucas gets out with the head of Fox. And they see that there's these guys that they're paying to do this sci-fi movie, sit in a hot tub watching a refrigerator drop. And they quietly turn around, get back in the limo, and drive away. But I mean, and also all these, and so when the woman who was telling it was basically George Lucas' personal assistant. She was the one who basically organized all of ILM, because they were just a bunch of
hooligans,
these weird, just like handwriting stuff and leaving out, and no had any system. And she didn't even know until that panel. No, that was that was Ben Burt. Ben Burt was recording sounds.
Yeah.
That's why they were dropping the refrigerator.
For
exactly, like
robots
when ships
and
crash. That's what they were doing. She was like, "Oh, I never knew." Like 40 years later, I had no idea that's what you guys were doing. Beautiful. So they actually were working. But it's that sort of like, that's what the documentary is going to be about. It's going to be on Disney Plus. And then he's and Lawrence Kasdan couldn't be there because unfortunately he caught the COVID, but he was there on video chat, and so he was telling the story too. But yeah, I mean, like, I was so overwhelmed by this, like this idea of like just a bunch of guys and gals, together doing something that no one had ever done before. And now how all of us are basically, the entire industry changed because of what these long-haired weirdos did in this.
Yeah.
I cannot, and the bunch of guys are all there and they're telling their stories and stuff too. And hearing Dennis Muren talk, hearing Phil Tippett talk, all these guys that we had seen in those documentaries that we watched when we were kids, now as older men. One of the things that was neat about it is they talked about one of the core philosophies of ILM is passing on the knowledge. Like the whole thing is every single one of them is about training the next generation. So they weren't trying to keep everything for themselves. It was all about sharing, collaborating, and having the next people do it so the next group can do something that they had never even thought of before. Right. And it still continues on to this day. That documentary is going to be amazing. And that shot right to the top of my list. I cannot wait for it.
When did they have a release date? Is it just?
It's this summer.
Sometime.
They haven't actually put it. I think maybe even closer to the fall. They haven't actually put a date on it yet. But Light and Magic.
Light and Magic. Well, I don't want to sidebar us too long, but one of the you said Ron Howard, I got kind of excited because I was not excited at all about Willow until they dropped the trailer, and it suddenly looks very, very good.
That too in the panel too. He talked about how they had never done fantasy before.
Yeah,
and so that was something totally different for them. And in the middle of when he was talking, someone yelled something at him, and he was like, "Yeah, sorry, I don't really control that." And he just could have continued on. I was like, "What was that?" And so later on, reading the review, someone said, "You should do Solo too."
As a Solo bull, I can say I would love to see a Solo too.
Yep. And you know what? There's a lot of people walking around in T-shirts saying "Make Solo 2 happen."
Make Solo 2 happen. Yep.
Yeah. There it is.
Well, what a fantastic trip, guys!
Concludes our trip. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Well done.
We had a great time. Came back with the con crud, but it was worth it. Didn't get the COVID, so
didn't get the COVID. All right. Well, if that concludes our retrospective on Star Wars Celebration 2022, we shall move into the Rob Cabasco Memorial List Challenge. But first, if you're not a member yet, but you want to support the kind of stuff that we're doing here in the Next Reel family of film podcasts, head over to thenextreel.com/membership. Most it'll cost you is just $5 a month, and that contribution goes to all the stuff that we're doing here, not just Saturday Matinee, not just Film Board, not just the Next Reel, all the things that we're doing to grow and change and do all kinds of new stuff in and around the films that we love. You get your own access to all the shows that we do in your own personal podcast feed. You get access to the double and yet some triple secret channels in our Discord server. And if you're wondering what movies the Next Reel is going to be talking about soon, you can also jump into our Letterboxd HQ page. That's letterboxd.com/thenextreel. Letterboxd. It's the best social media platform for movie lovers. It's fantastic. You're gonna go over to Letterboxd and you're gonna fall in love with it because there's none of the cruft that you get with those other social media. If you're just into it for the movies, come on over to Letterboxd. You're gonna jump in there. You're gonna follow us because then you'll see all the movies we're talking about. You'll see all the trailers we've talked about. You'll see everything that we've talked about. But you're gonna fall in love with it and you're gonna want to say, "Hey, I want to support this fantastic team making a great social network, and I want to get rid of the ads, and I'd like to do it while saving 20%. And I can help you with that. Just use the code NEXTREEL at checkout, and you will be upgrading your Letterboxd account to Pro or Patron with that 20% off discount. And it works for renewals as well. You will spank yourself for not taking advantage of this deal. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate your patronage. Now, the Rob Cabasco Memorial List Challenge.
Oh, boy.
Are you okay?
It's always special when I'm on.
Yeah, do you think? It is.
I mean, because then everyone, this is the point in the podcast where everyone goes, "Oh, God."
What possible theme? I don't think, Kyle,
he's not dead. That's
where
everybody goes.
I don't think any of the Step Up movies took place on a plane. Kyle, do you remember? No.
There might be some Tatum. I don't know. Let me see if I can Tatum my way out of this.
We are pro Tatum on this show. The list that was handed to us is our favorite films that took place on planes, and that's it. It is very broad, broad as we build your weekend watch list. Very broad. No other stakes. to consider. Favorite film takes place on a plane. I can tell you, I get to go first, and I can tell you that my list does, in fact,
A.
Weird. Boarding group A. Ugh. I can tell you
First
that
class.
my picks, I can't believe it, but none of my picks are in the catalog. They have never been picked before, and they should have been, if I do say so myself. My first pick is, I think, a controversial pick, but it is a guilty pleasure of mine. Oh my goodness. I love Robert Downey Jr. movies. You know that, right? I mean,
RDJ.
You're familiar with my love of Robert Downey Jr. movies. I happen to co-host the first season of our Epic Marvel Movie Minute podcast. You're familiar with that podcast as well.
I haven't heard of it.
We've heard
the
of it.
movie that I start with, and I carry some degree of shame about this movie. It is Air America.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
did not see this coming at all. No,
this is a movie. RDJ finds himself recruited unwittingly into a covert and corrupt CIA airlift operation in Laos during the Vietnam conflict. He's so charming and young in this movie. I think this was pre-cocaine or maybe immediately during cocaine, and he was with didn't age well Mel Gibson. I struggle a little bit to watch Mel Gibson, but these guys were at their peak sarcasm. This movie is, you have to have a soft spot in your heart because it's a rough watch if you've never. I watched it with somebody who had never seen it, never heard of it. It earned every bit of its 5.8 stars on IMDb's 6-star rating. For them, it was nay unwatchable. For me, I just have such fun watching them yell at each other in helicopters and planes and dropping rice across Vietnam. I'm sorry that I feel that way, and I'm sorry, but it is. If you were a child of who was watching movies in 1990 when this movie came out, it might be worth a check. It might be worth a check. Air America.
Air America.
All right.
I haven't thought about that movie in decades.
Okay. Rob, to you.
All right, here we go. Okay, so my tying thing of my three picks are, I absolutely love all three of these movies. I hope none of you steal them, but it's fine if not. All right, here's the intro. Do you love Harry Connick Jr. in Independence Day? If so, why don't you try his film debut involving another airplane, 1990s Memphis Belle.
Good choice.
This movie, this came out.
Wait. Is that a steal?
Is that a steal?
It is a steal.
Oh wow. It's an amazing movie. When this came out so I had just 1990. I am a freshman at Arizona State. I'm here in Phoenix. For those of you who remember, there's a local movie chain called Harkins Theaters. They had a Cine Capri. It was the one big screen. A friend and I went to that theater to see this movie. It was IMAX before we had IMAX. I still remember the experience to this day. And I haven't seen this movie in a while, but it was epic. It was unbelievable. Directed by, Michael Caton Jones. He directed Doc Hollywood the following year. He also directed Basic Instinct 2, but let's not worry about that. This movie is spectacular. It is an adaptation. It's a fictionalization of a documentary about a B-17 Flying Fortress bomber from World War II. It's just amazing. It
is not to be undersold because of the cast. The cast in this movie is crazy. Yes. Tate Donovan, Matthew Modine, Eric Stoltz, D.B. Sweeney, Sean Astin is in this movie.
Yeah.
Reed Diamond, in addition to Harry Connick Jr. I mean, it is it was a collection of people that all, it could have become a collection of people that earned like a cultural nickname, right? A Brat Pack kind of a nickname. It didn't quite get there, but man, Billy Zane.
Yes.
This is definitely a hard steal. I regret that you are on this list with me already.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's like I remember watching this movie at probably the same time and liking it. I haven't seen it since, but in my head, I always conflate it with the Amazing Stories episode.
Yes.
where they have the guys in the belly gun, and they don't have the landing gear won't go down. If they land, he's gonna die.
Squish him. Yeah.
So like I always like that. My brain always puts those two together. So like, which was the one that had the animated wheels? Oh wait, that's the other one. Okay, got it. So
yes.
So for my list, the word favorite is a problem for me because it turns out as I looked at the list, I don't have a lot of favorite movies that take place on planes. But I sort of had to come up with ones that I had seen and enjoyed. Except for this first one. So I'm breaking one of my own rules in this thing because I actually have not seen this movie, but it is on my list like to watch. It could be terrible, but I can't get over the premise of terrorists attack a plane and one of the guests on the plane is a vampire. Blood Red Sky from the far off year of 2021.
I've never even heard of this movie. What?
Yeah. It's terrorists take over a plane and one of the people on the plane is a vampire.
That's amazing.
I know. I'm like, I just the thumbnail, the one sentence thing. I'm like, I am on board. I don't even care. It might be terrible.
Where does one watch this?
Okay. So wait, what's the tagline?
Are you about to fix the movie?
What's the tagline? We don't have a tagline. Let me tell you what the tagline is.
Go ahead.
The Mile High Club sucks.
Slow clap.
Bring it in, everybody. Come on.
All right. That's exceptional. I almost don't want to watch the movie now because the tagline is enough.
Right.
All right. That's fantastic. Blood Red Sky. Where did you say where you can watch it? Is it a Netflix, Hulu?
I believe it's a Netflix. I think it's
probably
Tubi. We'll look that up while you talk about your thing.
Well, I do have another one, and I'm going to go ahead. I was going to save this for number one, but now I realize what kind of territory Rob is playing in, so I want to make sure I get it before it's stolen.
Oh, no.
This is a movie that I do actually like, and I like it for a number of reasons. From 2005, I like it because our principal actors are fantastic, and they are young and vibrant, and I could watch Rachel McAdams read my grocery list all day long, and Cillian Murphy is a nightmare factory. He is so creepy. But what is really great about this movie is that it just takes place on a plane. It doesn't necessarily involve like crashing, hijacking the plane. It is 2005's Wes Craven film, Red Eye.
Mm-hmm.
Red Eye.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one. Straight up creepy. He's the worst. Don't take red eye flights with Cillian Murphy ever. Yeah. Rob, have you not seen that one?
I have not seen it.
Oh, that should go on your list of things to watch, sir.
I'm going to add that to my list.
Yeah. Worth it. So that's my number two. Back to you, Rob.
What's our next flight, Rob?
Okay. I have a soft spot. I have talked about this movie. I think maybe it's been mentioned before. 2 planes, 2 action stars, and only one survives. And I mean one of the planes and one of the action stars. This movie I had one of the greatest theater experiences of an audience reaction ever. 1996's Executive Decision.
Yep.
Because I'm just going to tell you this. There is one of the 2 main action stars. There's only 2 faces on the poster. Mm-hmm. And spoiler, one of them doesn't make it out of the first 12 minutes of the movie. And when that happened, I will never forget that audience just going, what the fuck? Because if you came to that movie for that action, that guy, you were like, well, what is this? That's why you stay for the Oliver Platt and everything's fine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Isn't Leguizamo in that too?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good
Halle
pick.
Berry.
Because wait, when did that come out?
96.
96. Okay.
The 90s were really hot for airplane movies.
Rich for airplane
movies. I looked
movies.
at lists. I was like, there's so many.
All right.
And I didn't know. Okay, when I was looking this up, Stuart Baird is the director. This was his directorial debut. He only directs 2 more movies after this. U.S. Marshals in 1998.
Yep.
And Star Trek Nemesis in 2002.
Wow. Yes, he does.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Oh, I need to watch that again. Okay. Kyle, your second pick, sir.
All right, my second pick. This is interesting because I actually have been thinking about this movie recently because, and not related to planes at all, but because having a conversation about unlikable protagonists. And so like this, it was, thinking about it. And so when I saw this was the category, this is the first one that actually jumped to mind. So this is a movie I have not seen since originally it came out, but like I said, it's been on my mind. So this is more about trying to get things to fly as well as flying, because it starts with a plane crash. And does it end with the plane taking off? You don't know, because sometimes things go down, they don't come back up. I'm talking about Flight of the Phoenix from 2004. So it's a very interesting remake of a movie. And Giovanni Ribisi plays a character who is not really very likable and possibly untrustworthy, and yet might be the only way that these people are going to survive for their crash in the desert.
Have you seen the original?
I have not seen the original. Actually, as I was looking at it, I was sort of realizing I had never actually seen the first one.
Well, I have not seen the original. I don't believe. If I did, I don't remember it. And I have heard, because that one was one that came up, and everything I read was watch the original because this one's trash. And I thought, wait a minute. I kind of grew up with Flight of the Phoenix. I don't think that it's trash. Should I think it's trash? It's been a long time since I've seen it.
I don't know. There's a couple of these movies that I'm like, I remember going in and watching and really enjoying.
Yeah.
And if I went back, maybe they wouldn't hold up as well. Especially my number one, I think probably would be that way. But
all right, I picked Air America, man. You don't need to rub memories. Yeah, right. Okay, so that means I am last, and so that is fantastic because I get to pick Executive Decision 2. I am, of course, talking about decisions. Air Force One. I cannot believe that we have not, no one has picked this for any reason. There are any number of reasons to pick this movie for one of our historical lists. Directed by Wolfgang Peterson. It is the movie that puts Harrison Ford and Gary Oldman on screen together. And it looks, again, I've watched this one more than once for sure, but it's probably been better part of 10 years since I've seen it. And my memory of it is just so visceral because I saw this movie and thought, oh my God, that's what the president has to go through every time he gets on that plane. Like, that's what my headcanon did. Like, it's just terror getting on Air Force One. It's just horrible. My favorite bit of this is the poster, though, which is the giant face of Harrison Ford, and it just says across the top, Harrison Ford is the president of the United States. And that's it. And that's all we need.
Can somebody start a Kickstarter? Here's how you make that movie better. Do a Kickstarter. Just redo the crash sequence. Redo the CGI. It's some of the worst I mean, you could have taken a couple of paper towel rolls, painted them, stuck cardboard to them, and thrown them through someone's swimming pool, and it would look better. Than what's in that
was
movie.
not involved.
No, they were not involved. No. It's really, it is what's on the tin. It's all right.
Off my plane.
That's a great yes, get off my plane. That's it. Those are my three. Rob, number 3 for you.
So do you remember when Steven Spielberg remade a 1943 romantic drama starring Mr. Holland before his opus?
What are you doing?
Because I do. Because I was in high school and I took a girl on a date to go see Always. Oh, you didn't know? Like, that wasn't enough.
No, I legit didn't know.
Actually, I last Christmas I got the Steven Spielberg Blu-ray collection, and that was in there, and I realized I had never seen Always.
That was who was in that with him? Was that Holly Hunter? Was that Holly
Hunter and John Goodman?
Oh my goodness!
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Always.
And Audrey Hepburn. That's her final film role.
Wow!
I'll be darned.
No, it's a schmaltzy movie. But the Spielberg part of it is that they change it from the original. The 1943 film is about wartime, basically combat and stuff. And this one, he changes it to like firefighting. Mm-hmm. So basically with tankers. And I will say that it is spectacular. Those scenes, that's why Spielberg did it, because they did some pretty cool special effects. And the demise of the main character, because it's basically a ghost story. It's Ghost, but with aerial firefighting. Yeah. It's a tremendous sequence. I really enjoyed it. I can remember it. I mean, literally, I hadn't even graduated high school yet when this came out, and I thought it was a pretty nice movie. So
it is a pretty nice movie.
Pretty nice.
Rob Cabasco.
The girl I think I took
Pretty
out that night,
nice.
I think she thought it was nice too. And
Oh.
I'm just going to leave that there.
Did you?
Always.
Okay, I don't need to know anymore. Kyle, you're number
Boy,
3.
I wish we could have ended on there. But
Yeah.
That's not where we're ending because the final leg of our flight's going to get a little bumpier. Because as we were talking about, the 90s were really, really popular for movies. So this was another action movie in the 90s, set on a plane. Everybody was trying to crack that Die Hard on a plane thing. They went a little farther with this one, so maybe we should have a female lead for this one. So I'm picking in honor of the recent untimely, horribly painful death of emotionally, I should say, of Ray Liotta. Turbulence from 1997.
Oh.
He was
great in that
nuts
one. He was
in this movie.
Yeah, he was crazy.
Peak Ray Liotta.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was at his most like unhinged. And Lauren Holly getting to be like her one and only sort of action role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
It's probably trash, but I remember watching it and I remember renting it multiple times from Blockbuster because it was a good bad movie.
Wow. Yeah, that's a rough one. Yeah, rest
Yeah.
in peace, Ray. Well, that's a real roller coaster of a trip around the
Sure
world.
is.
I'm telling you, you guys.
It was a rough landing, but we got there.
We did get there.
We landed safely.
We did get there.
We have disembarked.
All right, so we're going to try something new here because this is about building a list of a watch list. We're going to build the watch list for us too. We don't have time to go watch 9 movies before next week, but we do have time to watch 1. And so we've decided as a new entry into the Saturday matinee, we're going to do a little test. Each of us are going to get a movie from one another's lists and watch it this week and do a little report sometime in the future. I think we each know what we're going to watch from each other's list. And so let's go ahead and do it. Except for Rob, I think you picked a movie off your own list, which seems possibly like the most Rob Cabasco-y thing you could possibly do.
No. That would me. I would be me. I have a movie on my list that I've never seen. So
Good.
It's like, hey, I gamed the system, and I'm paying the price for it because I have 2 movies I have to watch this week. Because I have one that I've never seen before.
Man, you really got hosed. Well, unfortunately for you, also, I want to watch that movie off of your list, which is Blood Red Sky. That sounds absolutely fantastic, and I need to be a part of that for sure. So that would be my pick. I will pledge to watch Blood Red Sky between now and next week.
All right.
So
I will, even though I'm going out of order, I will pick Always because
you've never seen
I have
it.
never seen that movie. And I own it. I've just never actually sat down and watched it.
All right. And Rob?
And I will take the Red Eye.
Yeah.
The Overnighter.
I think you're going to have a good time.
I'm looking forward to seeing this.
I think you're going to have a good time
Yeah,
with
me
this
too.
movie.
It's like vintage Spielberg. Like I can't believe it's a Spielberg movie I've never seen.
Yeah. And as part of this little experiment to see how this works, it sort of only works if we actually come back and talk about these movies next week. So it's us. We're actually picking a list theme for the 3 of us for next week. How hard could we possibly be on ourselves?
I'm already happy about this.
I thought for a moment we should do something related to movies about fandoms or about fan experiences.
Okay.
I don't know. I can think of exactly one that has been picked many times. So I don't know if the well is deep enough. But that was my first contribution.
Okay,
What do
I
you
like that. Fans and Fanatics.
Fanatics
There we go.
broadens it up. Yep,
Right.
I like
I
that.
love it.
I do like that. Fans and Fanatics. Okay.
Yeah.
Rob, what do you think? You have anything on your...
I cannot improve on that. That immediately.
I think I could think of a couple because once you sort of open it that way, then yeah.
Okay, so for next week, we will be talking about fans and fanatics, films about fans and fanatics. And I'm going to go ahead and limit it and unlimit it and say it doesn't necessarily have to be our favorite films about fans and or fanatics.
Sure. Right.
But we do have to, let's just say we should probably have seen it. Can we make that a rule? We have to have seen the movie.
All right. I like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that is coming next week. Very excited about that. And that will be us again. So we're going into a little bit of a slowdown season for the summer. So we're wrapping up our next couple of episodes, and then we'll be taking our little July break. But in the meantime, what are you guys up to right now in your podcast lives? Anything of note?
I think Curiosity Codex, I think a new episode just came out. I think that's where our break is going to be as well.
It did come out, and it's so good.
We have caught up to where Mandy Fabian is in production, so we can't really talk about the stuff because she hasn't done it yet. So the next things that we have to talk about are like cutting a trailer and picking a movie poster, and that's literally what she's doing right now. So I sort of need to give her a little bit of space and time until they have sort of locked the movie and got all that stuff before we can talk about what the process was.
Well, and I'll tell you, the last 2 episodes where you actually talk hardcore about her film have been really fantastic. Not that the rest of them weren't really interesting too. Well, sure, like her path has been great, but getting into the meat of the set work has been just really extraordinary and kind of riveting. Like, as somebody who has always aspired to work on bigger film productions and just paths go in different directions, it is fascinating to me to hear what she has put herself through, we should say, to actually get this done. So well done. And that episode, I think, dropped to members this week and goes public next week.
Okay, sounds about right.
So that is where we are.
Then we'll have our hiatus.
We'll have your hiatus. Rob, are you up to anything right now, or you're on a break from things? What are you doing?
On a break, but I know Kyle and I still have fun with our little 10 random things that will be coming back with a live episode next week.
Probably.
I imagine you have some things.
Yeah. There's some things. And then I got to tell you something. Like, we talked about this. We road tripped this whole experience. We are both energetic with ideas and stuff for the future. So I'm excited for what's going to happen. Some planning that's going to happen this summer. And we've got some fun stuff coming.
Good.
So.
Very excited about all those things. We are still we're wrapping up, actually, right now. Andy and I are wrapping up our season of the Next Real Stuff. And so we just wrapped up our sports series, and we've got just a lot of things. But next year, let's just say we're doing our entire theme for next year is very, very big. Very big. If you have not liked any of the more intimate, smaller films that we've done this year, you need to tune in August, because we're going large. I'm very excited about it. So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to this show. We appreciate your time and your attention. My goodness, this might be our record setter for the longest episode.
You'll never beat my record.
Noted. At least you're here for both of them. And thank you, everybody. We will see you online.
Go do something nice for yourself.
Bye.